What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Habs Tonight Live. I'm so used to saying pre or post game show, but we're just live right here after Geoff Molson speaks. Sorry for the delay. We are on a few minutes late here. Nature calls for your pets, and you have no choice about when they have to go, ladies and gentlemen. So that's how I'm going to put that. So Sherman says hello, my little puggy down here. Anyway, but yeah, Geoff Molson. This is a big day for Canadiens fans, and Nick. This is big business. I mean, this hasn't happened in so long. It's the start of a new era, and there's a lot to break down from this press conference from Geoff Molson. So let's just get started. Let's get right into it.
I'm excited. I know a lot of fans are cautiously optimistic, if we can put it that way, but I am extremely excited watching Geoff Molson speak and just seeing him smile and the way he spoke so highly about Jeff Gorton. Very excited to see what's coming in the near future for the Montreal Canadiens and the whole organization. But if we're going to dive right into it, so it looks like we will have a new senior VP of hockey operations, which will, if I can understand correctly, be a two-headed monster and share the task load with a brand new GM, which nobody has been contacted right now. Geoff Molson confirms that it's going to take the time that it takes to get somebody, and you're not just going to hire somebody for the sake of having a GM right away. So I'm excited to see who's going to be the candidates that they're going to get the permission to speak with, if it's anybody who currently has a position within the NHL. It's exciting. Finally, two people to handle the job. He said it countless times during his presser that this is not a job that can be handled with just one person like Bergevin was doing. If he had to go back in time, he would have two people handling it. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of pressure and stress, especially in a Montreal market.
Yeah, that was very clear from the outset, is that if he had to go back and do it all over again, he would have a second person to help Marc Bergevin. So lesson learned, but I mean, he also did say that he felt Marc Bergevin did a good job as a first-time general manager. And it was a roller coaster throughout his tenure. I mean, about almost 10 years. 2012 was when he started. So, but looking at the Bergevin era, and we can break that down shortly, but we'll focus solely right on, Geoff Molson's words today. But some pretty encouraging things just in terms of changes that they want to make still to the president or to the hockey operations department. And that includes more diversity. So that made me immediately think of somebody maybe like, bringing in a female into that department. So could see somebody like maybe Kim St. Pierre, that name came to mind immediately for me. So that's just something I wanted to bring up there.
He was asked to go more in depth about what diversity would mean to the organization, and he wasn't really clear on it, but was excited to basically suggest that maybe some new voices and some new ideas could really help within the organization. So if it is bringing in a woman to help out with specific roles, I mean, of course, I'm open to it, and I think we're at that point in society, if we want to say Kim St. Pierre would be an absolutely great candidate, a great hockey person to go into it. So I don't know, but it's exciting to finally hear some new and fresh ideas coming from Jeff. And another thing that stuck out to me was creating, what was the name he used? A medical professional team to help not only the players, but the staff with anything concerning mental health and just health itself. So that's huge. I think that the Jonathan Drouin and Carey Price situation probably opened that door for him, but it's nice to see the team and the organization stepping into that direction and opening that door for its organization members and helping them out in time of needs, especially with what we're living through right now.
Yeah, that was a really key thing. And it's one of the first things he said was they're going to be appointing like professionals. They're going to be appointing medical professionals specifically on the mental health side. And it just makes a whole lot of sense based on what we've seen with Carey Price and Jonathan Drouin's openness about their mental health challenges. So that's huge, not just for the Montreal Canadiens, but for the NHL and for any athlete that is still not sure they want to come out and speak about those challenges.
100%. And I think we should really just take the time for a second. Like, Bergevin's leaving. It's the end of an era, but I really appreciated how highly Geoff Molson spoke of the 3 individuals that he let go yesterday, he had nothing but nice words, nothing but respect towards them. You can hate him, you can like him, you can say whatever you want to say about Marc Bergevin, but he's going to be remembered for caring about the human side of hockey and not only just the hockey players. So I think it's important to be thankful for everything that he did do, regardless if you're a fan of him or not. And I think a lot of people do forget, like you said, that this is a guy that came into an organization that had a lot of responsibility to take. He had no experience as a GM. So when you think about it, he did a decent job. I mean, went to a Stanley Cup final, went to a conference final, made the playoffs throughout most of those years. It's time for a new start, though. I mean, it is what it is, right?
Yeah, but like you mentioned, sure. So my dog,
excited about
my dog is escaping, so I'm gonna have to go get him quickly. So forgive me while I drop out of the stream for a moment, but we shall continue this.
Yeah, no worries. To keep going on what Geoff Molson was saying, there was a lot of talk about the way Marc Bergevin found out that he was basically fired, and Jeff was sure to mention, this is not something that Bergevin holds against him. It was something that was just ended up being released. It's hard to keep, I guess we want to keep something confidential. It's hard to keep it everything, right? So he still states that he has a great relationship with Marc. They do still text every day, and that Marc has no hard feelings. He understands everything that needed to happen. And I think that's what's important here, is that nothing was done behind anybody's back. It's just, it's the way it works, right?
I kind of caught the tail end of what you were saying. So you were
within reason, yeah.
Yeah.
I was saying that the way Bergevin found out that he was being fired was through social media and not through Jeff. But Jeff then explained that that's the way it works right now with social media. Somebody catches the tail end of something and they release it, especially with the media. So there's no hard feelings on Bergevin's end with everything that happened. They still have a great relationship. And there's no doubt that if Marc Bergevin decides to take a break or to go with the next organization, that he won't have a bright future ahead of him.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of us are seeing him going to the LA Kings at some point, and maybe that opportunity is going to happen sooner than later for him. For those of you that are joining for the first time, by the way, thank you for watching and joining us live today as Geoff Molson addresses the Montreal Canadiens fan base and the media, addressing the firing of Marc Bergevin, also Paul Wilson from Public Relations, and Trevor Timms. So some folks will be happy to know that a new direction is being taken because of the mishandling of prospects, some feel, over the years, but there's also some good ones in the bank as well. So lots to break down. There's so much to break down. If you guys want to jump on live with us, by the way, we're going to send out the invite to you guys if you'd like to jump on and chat with us right now as we're live. You can do it on your cell phone and your laptop, any video device that you can use. We'll gladly bring you on, and I want to hear your thoughts about the future of the Montreal Canadiens and how you feel the direction is going to go with Jeff Gorton as the new vice president of hockey operations. Because again, Geoff Molson did mention, Annik, that his role does not change as president. So that's a key point from this press conference too.
He's still going to keep doing everything that he's doing right now. He said it countless times. It's not his job to come out and to speak to the media and to speak to the fans. It's going to be the GM's job to do that with the advisement of the new senior VP as well. So I don't know. There's just so much. If we want to touch about what you just said, I kind of want to touch on Trevor Timms, because he did speak highly of Trevor Timms to say that he's been with the organization since 2003. So he's still a friend of everybody, a great guy, a great hockey knowledge guy. But the fact that in the past, let's say 10 years, we drafted 3 times in the top 10 and none of those players are still with the organization, that seemed to be a huge problem with Geoff Molson, which would probably explain the reason why he decided to take another route and to hire somebody else. So for me, that is a huge move and it needed to be done. It's nothing against Trevor himself, but the fact that we are unable to develop a high caliber player or to keep him within the organization is a huge problem, and it needed to be addressed a long time ago. But better late than never. I think now is the perfect time to, especially with the draft coming in Montreal. We have 11 draft picks this year, unless we make a trade or something happens. It's going to be great to have fresh new ideas and a guy like Jeff Gorton who can basically guide the new person into development. I think it's going to be great to have him.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's nothing personal against Trevor Timmins. I mean, I think genuinely Marc Bergevin and Trevor Timmins did the best that they thought they could. Like,
Yeah.
I actually think that all the press conferences I watched, I mean, I've kind of been like a media junkie in that way, in terms of just taking in everything that the Canadians would put out whenever Marc Bergevin spoke. I felt like he genuinely cared, and we've heard that countless times from Dale Weiss on our show. As
Yeah.
a lot of you know, Dale is the founder of our show, and would be with us today if he could. He's quite busy over in Sweden,
On the
getting
road.
his on the road. Dale's on the road right now, actually. So still playing hockey, which is great. So at some point we'll get Dale's thoughts on the new direction of the Canadiens. So just so fans know, we will get his opinion and just further insight from him when we can. So that's always the case on this show for this, because we always get questions about where is Dale, but he's a busy
On the
man
road.
on the road. Still doing what he loves, playing hockey.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, it's just, you mentioned the excitement you felt about today, because this is genuinely a new era for the Montreal Canadiens, something we haven't seen
Yeah.
before. There has not been a vice president of hockey operations in the history of the Montreal Canadiens. That's significant.
It's a brand new position that he felt needed to be created to help support the GM itself, and it's easier to bounce ideas off to people than on yourself, basically,
Yeah.
So there was mention also of Jeff Gorton and his reputation and why he was the one that was chosen. So to make it clear, Jeff has signed a long-term contract, according to Geoff Molson. The details will be released in the next coming days. Jeff should be coming from New York tomorrow or Wednesday, and he plans on moving his family to Montreal, et cetera, et cetera. So he's the type of guy that with New York had an amazing resume. He brought them to a Stanley Cup final, conference finals. He helped rebuild. He basically declared a rebuild, and he's responsible for the New York Rangers team that we're seeing right now. So if you take a look at that resume, I mean, you can't help but be at least positive that he's going to bring some great hockey knowledge and help support the new GM in whatever decisions or whatever he wants to do, right?
Yeah, not to mention the Boston Bruins, the best
Yes.
draft, being part
Yeah.
of the, Brad Marchand, Milan Lucic, trading for Tuukka Rask, signing Mark Savard and Zdeno Chara. Like, this guy put together some pretty
A
solid
dynasty.
teams. Yeah, the Bruins, the Bruins could have had more Stanley Cups. They got one out of the 3 attempts that they had in the last 10 years, or 10 or more years, I should say. But that's no slouch. I mean, that's in an 82 game regular season. The Habs did it in the Canadian division. Like, let's compare apples to oranges a little bit here. I mean, different circumstances on how we got to the Cup and how the Bruins got to the Cup 3 times. And he was a big part of that, Jeff Gorton. So most of the questions I found today for Geoff Molson were about Jeff Gorton and why he was the guy for the job. And I think that the resume, really, it speaks for itself.
Yeah. He mentioned that Jeff had not crossed his mind before last week, like in the recent days. So it's something that he did a lot of research on. A lot of people spoke very highly of him, and one person that stood to mind at the end of the press conference, Geoff Molson says that Gary Bettman has a great relationship with Geoff Molson, and whenever he needs advice or anybody to bounce ideas from, Gary Bettman is one of the guys that he calls. And Gary spoke very highly of Jeff Gorton. So if your commissioner speaks highly of somebody, I mean, you at some point it's got to be true, right? So
Yeah.
I think we've got a good one here, and you can tell just by his body language and the smile that he's like, we're so lucky that we were able to get him, and he's so excited about it. So I can't wait in the next few days to have a press conference from Jeff and to hear a little bit more about his vision, because Molson was asked about what's the vision for the team, and he flat out said, not my responsibility, not my job. The new GM and your new senior VP will be responsible to discuss the future of this team and what's going to happen.
Yeah, very interesting points. And that's what's cool is that, Jeff was confronted with that today, asked, so do you oversee, or when you don't like a decision, do you jump in and have your say and help encourage management to change their mind? And he said, no, I never have.
Zero.
So that's important. And hopefully that's the truth. I'm sure they consult Jeff on certain things, but I mean, when it comes to, Marc Bergevin having to fire Claude Julien, yes, like you have to bring that to Geoff Molson to sign off on. Like that actually has to happen in order for Claude Julien or a coach to get fired. Some questions coming in over here, but before we get into talking about who the next general manager is going to be, one thing is clear is that the VP of operations does not have to be bilingual. And that is because they won't be like Jeff Gorton won't be the one communicating with the fans. That will be the general manager. So that's an important note as well. So the general manager does need to be bilingual because, of course, they are in Quebec. We know this is an issue that we've talked about, and we really just want to have a general manager that helps the team win. We don't care what language they speak. However, this is Montreal, and we need to respect the French fan base. I mean, French is the first language. So once we get past that, there are some good candidates out there. And the one that is, I guess we'll just get into it right now. The name that is, shining brightest, at least so far, is Matthew Darche. And it seems as if
Madden Jr. as well.
Pardon me?
Madden Jr. as well from Anaheim.
Oh, from Anaheim as well. Yeah. Yes.
Those are the two that are.
Yeah. So it depends on Jeff Gorton's view of them and what, again, who it's going to be. But it seems like, according to Chris Johnson, according to Darren Dreger, Matthew Darche's name is out there pretty strongly. But until we hear otherwise, we'll leave it be with Jeff Gorton and Jeff Molson, the Jeff squared.
The two Jeffs. So which Jeff does the general manager report to? Jeff with the J or Jeff with the G? That's going to be before we get any further, I want to welcome JD, which is our new co-host. Has a lot of thoughts that he wants to share with the team and with you guys. So JD, how's it going, buddy?
Hey, Drew and Annik. First time with Drew. So yeah, I'm very good. How about you guys? That's a big day.
Yeah, good to see you, man. Great to be on with you for the first time. This is great. So Thank you again for joining the team, by the way.
Yeah, well, it's my pleasure.
So what are your thoughts?
I think that, one of the things that came out of that press conference actually is the fact that Molson is kind of getting around. You know how there was a lot of displeasure about having to pick the best bilingual candidate? And I think that Molson tiptoed around that very smartly, if I can say, by having Gorton there and by splitting the roles. It allows them to have the best hockey man in position in Gorton, and then having a bilingual GM with the help of Gorton, and those two will make decisions together, and that will allow to have the best team, I think, possible. Because I think if you look at the hockey ops, you look at Bergevin trying to do all that work and looking after the coaching, looking after the draft and all that, right? And focusing on the GM position. There was no harder working GM in the NHL, according to a lot of people in the league. And so you could tell that Bergevin probably got 30 years older in the 10 years he was in Montreal. You can see from his body, even his face, how tired that guy was, right? Yeah. So I think that's a very positive, and I like the way he tiptoed his way around the bilingualism by having the best guy available too.
100%. I think he did a great job, and like he said countless times, he's not going to hire somebody just for the sake of hiring. So the fact that he did extensive research and mentioned it a lot of times, that for a GM, there's going to be extensive research done, and they're not going to hire somebody just for the sake of hiring. So I'm not really worried on who they're going to take on. At the end, somebody asked the question, I don't remember which journalist asked the question of, are we going to wait until the end of the season to do this and see who's available? And he flat out said, it depends. If there's nobody available right now, I mean, we'll wait. But if I'm Geoff Molson, again, speculating armchair GM here, I'm getting somebody in the next weeks or months, anytime before the trade deadline, so that you can start planning ahead with your drafting as well. You're going to need somebody for player development. So I don't know. It's just it's interesting who's going to be mentioned. There's been a lot of talks of, I mean, per Eric Engels, if you want to consider him a source here, Daniel Brière was mentioned as somebody who could have the potential of coming up. He's got some experience in the ECHL right now. You've got Mathieu Darche. Roberto Luongo's name was mentioned. That I found interesting because, I don't know, he's got that experience. So a lot of different names, and it might be people we're not even considering right now, right?
Yeah. There's certainly a bunch of names out there, and I think it showed, based on what Marc Bergevin did, maybe it is possible for, especially now that you have a president of hockey ops, if you bring in a first-time GM again, it might not be a bad situation as long as they have the right, as long as they gel together. Like if Jeff Gorton can help lead the way, whoever the best fit is, Jeff Gorton's going to be the one to find that. And that's according to Glenn Sather of the New York Rangers, who said Jeff will find the right person for this job.
Yeah, I'm not worried.
Yeah, I find that the Martin Madden Jr. I like his resume. I mean, 14 years with the Ducks, and prior to that, he was a scout. His track record for drafting and player development is outstanding, really. And one name that hasn't popped up anywhere, and I'm surprised because you hear about Briere, you hear about Darche, you hear about Luongo, guys that don't have that much experience in management in the NHL or at the NHL level. Yet you have Madden Jr. that has quite a bit, and Martin Lapointe, right in our backyard here. No one has mentioned that guy, but when Molson mentioned his name today as being still in position and being able to hold the fort until they find someone, to me, it seems like Molson thinks very highly of Lapointe, and I wouldn't be surprised if he was interviewed for the position.
Yeah.
No, Martin Lapointe. Yeah. I mean, you can't really rule out anybody at this point. And I just saw Eric Engels tweet about Danny Briere. So, I mean, there's so many candidates. Like, it's just, you can't really not. This is such an important job. Like, how do you really narrow down who that person's going to be? I wouldn't want to be the one selecting it. I can tell you that, because there's a lot of folks qualified potentially. And I want to mention something to you guys here. And this is a very important interest to the Habs fan base. And I don't think we've heard this from Geoff Molson before. And that is, he said he's not afraid of a rebuild if necessary. Yeah. So what do you guys think about that quote from Geoff Molson?
I like it personally. I don't think we should be afraid of a rebuild. When asked if the Montreal Canadiens could be heading towards a rebuild, Molson flat out said, "It's not my decision. It will be the senior VP and the GM who will be working together and coming to a conclusion about what the next vision for this team is." So I'm perfectly fine having two new people with a brand new vision and a clean slate coming in, assessing what's going on, and then saying, you know what, I don't see a potential with this. Let's try this. And he said, it's either a rebuild, a reset, or we keep going. We've been through a reset. We haven't built through a full-on rebuild. A lot of people are afraid of the R word. I'm not. If it needs to happen, we've talked about it on this channel. Do we need a fire sale? Anything is possible at this point, and these two new people will be the professionals who will assess the situation and let us know how we move forward.
Yeah, well, you know that new people will bring new ideas and new concepts, and you know that change is coming. Okay, there will be some change. We just don't know how much and at what point. Right?
Thanks for the comment. By the way, sorry to cut you off, but no, I will not.
I second that.
How's your French?
Je peux parler français un petit peu.
How about Annik?
Poutine, oui. Poutine, oui, Canadien.
JD and Annik are better qualified than I am. Okay, let's just say that.
Just for language alone.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, exactly.
I think that the new people you'll have new ideas, and I think that Molson was politically correct when he said that he wasn't afraid of a rebuild. I don't see that as being necessary, to be honest with you, because of the reset that's been happening. Molson said himself that they have selected 45 guys, 45 picks since 2018, and there's still 11 to come, right? So, and they will be trading guys like Charrot and a few other guys like Mathieu Perreault and things like that, right? So they will get more picks and prospects coming in. You got to be careful when you manage a hockey team. You can only sign 50 people. You can only have 50 contracts. So now they already have 45 young kids. They won't sign them all, but 50 includes your NHL and AHL team. So you got to be aware of all these things. And it's so much more than what we see as fans when it comes to managing a hockey team. Not only the salary cap, but the number of contracts. Who do you keep? Who do you not keep? Think of future. That's why they draft a lot of college players, because they have more time to sign them than they risk losing them like Harris. But that's a different topic altogether. So yeah, I think there will be changes, but I don't think it's necessary to go through a rebuild.
Yeah, well, especially like I want to touch on the comment here. You've got some long-term contracts, so it makes it a little bit harder to go through a rebuild. But if we were to go through a little bit more of a reset and a rebuild, I'm looking at what he did with the New York Rangers and how this team has evolved. You're looking at guys like Zibanejad, Lafreniere, Adam Fox, goalie, what's his name?
I can't
remember. Am I saying that right?
Let's go with that.
Leakins.
That guy, the S guy. The S guy. You know,
this is water. Okay.
Sure it is. You're getting prepped for the coaching job already.
It's great. GM job already. Okay. No, I'm kidding.
It's probably cutting the rocks. But, you know, I see what Capo Caco's another one. Ryan Reeves just bringing such a great Panarin. I can keep going for days, but he did. Thank you. That's facts. It is facts. It's Shesterkin. Yes. Shesterkin. There you go.
That's facts, folks.
You know, he's done such an amazing job leaving the Rangers in the spot they're in right now, and they might not be at the top of the league. They might not be making the playoffs, but you can see the potential that this team has and where they're heading in the near future. So if we were to take that route, that's what makes me a little bit more comfortable with it, is to see that this guy knows what he's doing, and it's not just doing a rebuild for the sake of doing a rebuild, you know? So obviously, if it can be avoided, I'm pretty sure that it will. There's just a lot of questions that need to be answered. And one thing that I want to ask you guys about that was mentioned towards the end of the interview and in the chat as well is the fate of Dominique Ducharme. So there has been no talk about what's going on here with Dominique, but when asked about it, Geoff Molson flat out says, I don't pick the coach. The coaching thing is not my problem. It will be decided by the new GM and your senior VP if anything else changes. So do you guys see the new management making a change on the bench, or do you see them writing this out for this year and assess next year?
I really don't think that I think Dominique Ducharme is the least of your worries right now. I really do. Like, that's just the guy is a new NHL coach, and to me, his system still hasn't been fully bought into. And part of the reason for that is simply because you don't have your full lineup. You don't even have it close to your full lineup. So the lines change every friggin' game. So really, to put it on Dom Ducharme at this point is laughable. Like, and I've seen that not just from myself, but from other members of the media who've covered this team for years. And I don't always agree with the media, but I agree with them on this one, who share the sentiment that Dominique Ducharme is not the problem right now. And this is the team that Marc Bergevin put together. He did his best. He's done. He's out the door. And they're going to try to work with what he gave us and go from there. So I don't think Dominique Ducharme is in any way to blame for the situation this team is in. You didn't plan for Carey Price not being there to start training camp. Shea Weber's career basically on the line, if not done. Paul Byron out, Edmondson out, Petrie having the weight of the world on his shoulders. Hoffman is out, Perreault is out. Do we want to keep going? Like, it's not Dominique Ducharme's fault at this point. I think he's again done the best that he could with what he's had, and this is a team of the future. So you've got youth and then youth coming with some good veterans and some middle-aged guys on the team still, but I just don't think Dom Ducharme is in any way to blame for the status of this team. Yeah,
I agree with you, Drew. I think it's he does have his share of the blame. There's plenty of blame to pass around to everyone, including the players, right? Because let's face it, they haven't always. It doesn't seem anyway like they've always put the best effort up front. We've seen some progress in the last few games. I think last week or so, I think that we have noticed some progress in that aspect.
Right.
But I think the biggest decision prior to coaching, obviously, will be to find a general manager, but decide on a plan. Who do you keep as your core? Because Marc Bergevin's core may not be the same core that Gorton and the new GM want to keep. So is Carey Price staying? What did they do with Petrie? What did they do with all the veterans actually on that team? So the Gallaghers and those were Bergevin's guys, right? That was his core that he was building around. Well, perhaps a new guy will come in with new ideas, or perhaps he'll just like what was started and just wants to keep going and just tweak here and there. And we have to trust. And that's where there's a bit of a wind of hope here that's blowing over the Canadiens with that news that hopefully the right decisions will be made for the sake of the team. I love the decisions off ice, that medical team that they're forming. I think with what they've done with Mailloux and, when they created that awareness group and stuff like that, that committee, I love what the Canadiens are doing right now off the ice. Now it's just a matter of taking the right decisions for on the ice, and we don't know what the general manager and Gorton will have in mind for that. So we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, I mean, he did mention countless times that they're running programs about consent when it comes to players and humans, period. A lot of responsibilizing for the kids. A lot of programs are being developed, which obviously I don't condemn the decision that they took with Logan Mailloux, and we're not going to go back to talking about it. Even Molson said it's something in the past and we're focusing on the future here. So it's great to hear that all these people were not fired due to that decision and that they're moving forward and developing things to help people around. So that was great to hear. I'm really happy about that. But I guess what matters now is just to help them. And it seems to be what they're doing, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like, the Mailloux situation was so hard to understand. And like, I think as fans, some of us, probably easier for guys. I mean, it's a bias because we've made stupid mistakes in our past, and you try to justify, and there was no justification for what he did whatsoever. There never will be. What I'm hopeful of is that they take what was a terrible act and turn it into something good down the road here. That's the only way you can right a wrong. And you're not going to right this wrong for the victim. I mean, that's just not going to happen. But maybe in some way they can take what is a terrible situation and turn it down the road into something positive. Maybe Mailloux becomes a very big advocate for sexual well-being, or, something positive for kids to look up to in terms of how to not make the same mistake that he did. So
preventing it. Yeah.
Yeah. And like, there's no way around it. They did draft the kid. It was a mistake.
What's done is done.
Yeah,
What's done is done.
Yeah. So, I mean, at the end of the day, the Canadiens have addressed it, and it's nice to know that they're trying to take the right steps forward to make life better for anyone involved in that, in those kind of situations. Now, in terms of the Canadiens and the lineup and the rebuild, suggestion here, I guess I'm hard pressed right now to see how a rebuild again is possible based on the way the roster construction is currently there, because I don't see how you get better, like, just shipping off guys like Toffoli, Anderson, Gallagher, Petrie. Like, I don't see how you get better. So unless you want to be better in 5 to 8 years, then sure. But the rebuild plan for me, I think I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago on our roundtable when we said, should the Canadiens clean house, and they did, by the way. They cleaned house in front office, just not on the ice. So I think we have, it's a great start, and I think that we have to give this time. And the fact is, Carey Price is still a member of the Montreal Canadiens, so it really, like, I really think this organization from the beginning, going back to Bob Gainey, still believes in Carey Price and what he can do, and they want him to retire a Montreal Canadien if possible. So until that is decided in terms of his future, I don't think a rebuild is there, and I don't think it has to be, because you still got some great core pieces. We just got to find a way to use them properly, bring in the new guys that we want. But Jeff Gorton's going to be the one to decide that. I just don't think a rebuild is necessary now until at least the 2020, I'm trying to think, the 2023 or 2024 season, because you have to wait until at least the end of next season after Carey Price has a full season back to really know where you're at. So I don't think a rebuild's possible for at least another 2 seasons or so.
Yeah, depending on how the team is doing, then you don't throw the gloves off just right now because it's not going well right now. You make the front office changes like he did, which was the right step to take, and I think it was made at a crucial moment in the season. I mean, if it would have waited a little bit longer, it would have been too late. There's still time to get out of the slump that we're in right now. I know it feels like the season is lost. That's what Brandon said on the show yesterday. He's like, you know what? It's lost. That's it. We're done. But I still have a little bit of faith that, like, you know, tonight we're playing the Vancouver Canucks, who are not having a great season. If we can string that second game in a row tonight, could be that little bit of momentum that we need. Maybe the front office changes will be a wake-up call for the guys, in a way that they might think that, oh shit, they're cleaning house up there. What if they start cleaning house down here? Step up your game, wake up a little bit, and give it your 110%. As for one thing I wanted to touch on, I know JD, you mentioned it earlier. When the trade deadline is coming, you're going to have to move some people around. And the first person I'm thinking of is Ben Sherratt, who people forget that he had an incredible season last year, was crucial in the playoffs. And even this season, he might be taking some penalties that we're not in agreement with and come at a very awful time. But he's got 4 goals and he's stepping up his portfolio this year. So could we get a first-rounder back for Ben Sherratt?
Apparently so. If you believe Elliot Friedman, it's a fine balance, though, if you think of it. Because if someone comes today and offers you a first-round pick, do you take it now? We know that the value of Sherratt getting closer to the trade deadline with the salary cap, with the flat cap that we've had due to COVID, his value will go up because you'll have more teams that will be able to afford him, even if Montreal was to eat half his salary to make a trade happen and get a little bit more for him. We know that closer to the trade deadline, they could get more for him, but with the style that Ben Sherratt plays, he's a very physical guy. He blocks shots, he fights, he gives body checks. There's the risk of injury too. So you could gamble to wait longer to trade him, because comes February, you will get more for him because more teams will be bidding on him, will be able to afford him. But what if he's not healthy at that point? So it's a fine line when it comes to that. One thing that I want to bring about that is, what are they going to do though? You have 2 ways that you can finish this season. Most of us will say that the Canadiens are out of the playoffs. But the worst case scenario here would be to finish outside the top 10 and give Arizona our first round pick here, right?
Yeah.
So you're not playing to lose. No player will play to lose. No coach will coach to lose. No GM will want to lose. But you got to be smart about it too. So what do? You get rid of your veterans and play your young people? Or do you send your young players down to Laval, make a good team so that they learn how to win, and then you lose with the Perreault and the Paquette and the the Sherratt and so on, and keep that core going for the rest of the season, and whatever happens, right? So there's 2 trains of thoughts when it comes to that.
Yeah. We discussed it a little bit on the Brando and I's roundtable yesterday. That's going to be one of the priorities for the new guys. It's going to be, do you play your kids right now or do you send them back? What route do you want to take with this season? So it's going to be interesting to see what they do, because I'm a little bit torn between, obviously as fans, we want to see our kids play and get the experience within the NHL. But at some point, if it keeps being such a negative atmosphere and a losing atmosphere, I'm kind of at the point where it's like, you know what, send them down. Like you said, get the experience in the A, go for a Calder, and come back up next year refreshed and with a little bit more experience.
Not a bad way to look at it. I mean, I just think that even Saturday, when Scott Mellenby resigned, like there was a bit of a weight lifted off this team, and like they just seemed looser playing against Pittsburgh. I don't know if you guys felt that too, but like after Drouin's goal, I mean, that was a cough up by Sidney Crosby of all people, by the way. Like
Yeah.
that was a Crosby giveaway to Drouin on that goal. But I just felt like I think the team already had a sense of maybe what was coming. And it just seemed like there was a bit of a lift, like there was a pressure lifted off of the team. And this is a fresh start right in the middle of the season. And these guys just like JD's saying too, like they're not going to stop trying. They're not going to not try to make the playoffs. Carey Price's return is imminent. That's going to be a huge boost for the team.
Yeah.
You know, we're going to be getting guys back. Edmondson's going to be back any day now. Maybe even saying, I don't know. Yeah, Byron, Hoffman, we need his goal scoring back. He was doing just fine before he got hurt. So, yeah, but I also want to mention this to our viewers too. If you haven't already, hit the like button and subscribe on our channel. We appreciate the support. We don't always get to jump on live here in the middle of the day.
Yeah.
Fortunately, some of us had the day off, so we're able to jump on and address the current state of the Montreal Canadiens, which is a privilege. So like and subscribe. We appreciate the support and we appreciate the comments, of course. And again, if anybody else wants to jump on, please do email us live@habstonight.com and you can be a part of the discussion today. We'll probably go for another maybe 15, 20 minutes or so. But yeah, I'm excited, guys. Like Nick mentioned this earlier, and JD too. I mean, there's a new sense of hope and optimism around the direction of this team. So I don't think we have any expectations the rest of the season. We're going to ride it out, and we're going to do what's best for the team. So I'm good with that if we're winning, and I'm good with that if we're losing. So I think this is just the state of mind we were looking for.
I have a question for you guys, if I may.
Yeah.
How do you feel the players will react to the news? I mean, Drew, you mentioned that you felt like they had a bit of a sense of relief when Mellenby announced that. I'm not sure because that happened during the game, right? So I'm not sure if they were made aware of that.
Just a coincidence.
They were.
Maybe.
Yeah, but I mean, if you look at it, I mean, Bergevin is the type of GM that was very close to his players. You know, the relationship between Bergevin and the players has been well documented. Players love him, and he loved his players too. So he's the guy who went and signed those free agents. He's the guy who signed those contracts, decided who to keep. So the players that are here currently were selected by Bergevin. Yeah. It can go two ways, right? It can be a wind of fresh air, or will these guys start playing even more nervously? They can't play worse than they have, let's face it. But, you know, holding the sticks tight because now their future is in jeopardy. They felt perhaps protected by having Bergevin there, having their back. But now every time you change GMs, the coach will be nervous. The players will be nervous because they have families. These guys, they have kids in school. We forget often we're lucky here to have Dale to bring that side of things in this show in Habs Tonight. But not everybody has that. People don't often understand that the human aspect of those players and the uncertainty that a new GM brings, a new direction a team is taking, I'm not sure what effect it will have on the ice. It can get worse, but
I understand. Yes, I can see that could be an issue, but personally, I see it as something positive for this team to see that higher ups are taking action to try to improve, because clearly right now it's not working. The guys know this. They've said it countless times during their pressers that it's not going well. It needs to be fixed on the ice. But to be fixed on the ice, you got to get those right hockey minds off the ice. So I'm seeing it as a positive thing, and I'm not seeing it as something that it'll make them play worse or be a concern. That's just my point of view, though, personally. So
I think accountability is good. I mean, we saw what happened when Stefan Waite was let go. He was best buddies with Carey Price.
Yeah.
But it's good for growth to not be comfortable. When you're too comfortable, that's when comfort kills. So, I mean, I think it can hinder your progress as a team if you're too comfortable. And that's all the power to Bergevin for having a great relationship with his players. That was undermined because, you know, we only see the Marc Bergevin that we want to see. But what we don't see is his one-on-one time with the players and how they were treated. And that's a great thing. And that's a beautiful thing. And I'm glad to see that he got to share those moments winning the conference final with guys like Carey Price, how emotional he was, which you never saw when it came to extending Brendan Gallagher And then again, when Carey Price came out about his mental health issues, like that you just don't see that. Like he couldn't even hold it back. And I think that on a human level, as a fan, you appreciate that kind of stuff. But now I think this is the right time to keep everybody accountable all at the same time. And that's everybody from Carey Price all the way down to your AHL level players, your prospects. This is the Montreal Canadiens. There's so much pride. That is the biggest thing that came out of what Marc Bergevin's letter had to say to fans in the organization was how proud he was to be the general manager of the Canadiens, living his dream. And as fans, we are proud. We're very proud fans. It's an honor to cheer on this team. I don't know. We don't know what it is sometimes. It's just there's like this magical thing about the Canadiens and, the era that ushered in all those championships and the pride of being a champion that we haven't seen currently that we want to. And I just think that there's something to behold there. And having these guys be accountable and ushering in this new era is a good thing for everybody. And if it brings out the best in everybody, that means we got to ship guys out and bring guys in, whoever it is that wants to wear this jersey and pull that sweater over their head and wear it with pride and play their heart out every single night, like Brendan Gallagher does. That's what we're looking for with this change.
Yeah.
And Lehkonen, actually, we talk a lot about Gallagher, the way he plays, but Lehkonen
just as much as
that's the same way, right?
Yep.
Lecky is so underrated this season. He's on a quiet streak. Nobody talks about him. If his name was Matthews,
Except
he'd be
Evans.
all over the news, except Jake Evans, who talks about breaking his stick, but that's about it. You
Jake
can
Evans,
tell.
great.
Yeah, God bless. Jake Evans, sorry, not Jake Evans. Lehkonen is on a contract year. He's
playing like
he's
it.
a guy.
He's
He's
playing
playing
like
like it. Yeah, but he's a guy that he's been here for what, 6 years, I think, or so. Give
Yeah,
or
somewhere
take.
in there.
Something like that.
So he had a great rookie season with 22 goals. He's a quiet leader. He's a quiet, great player, and you could probably see him as a potential trade bait by trade deadline. But it's gonna suck to lose him because this is a guy that works his butt off during a PK and all over the ice. He's that gritty forward, your gritty fourth liner, and it's gonna suck to lose him if ever we do. So I don't think he's appreciated enough by this fan base.
Yep, I can second that. And the fact is, once he starts hitting the net, like he continues to hit the net, and he continues to hit the back
And
of the
he's
net.
proud.
Yeah. So we wanted to have Lecky on for an interview, and we just missed him because the training camp started. But we'll try and catch up with him at some point here. But again, he's been one of the most appreciated players, I think, from us, like the fans that watch the team so closely. How hard he works, and when he gets rewarded, it's just like, my gosh, like it was so deserved. It was deserved 10 games ago for him to score.
Him and Jake Evans.
Yeah, like Jake Evans and him are just, and that's what I mean. Like if you can get more of that out of everybody, I mean, Josh Anderson brings such a unique element to this team nowadays. Yoel Armia, like let's see some physicality out of Armia. Like he's a big body. We know he's got the handles, but like when Corey Perry was with this team, guys, and Eric Stahl, like I think everybody was on board. Like that's what we had.
We're missing Corey.
We are missing him, and Weber. Like my gosh,
for sure.
The identity of this team,
there's none,
was solidified, and now it's in question. And this is the perfect time to readdress it without those guys here. It's like, okay, are we going to continue just to wait and hope that some of these players are never coming back? So it's just a matter of identity restructuring. I think this is a great start, Nick, like we've been talking about. So
Gally can only do so much. And you look at Lecky, I mean, he looks like he's friends with everyone on the team. You look in practice, he always has a big smile on his face. You look on the bench, he talks to everyone. He wore an A on his jersey in the past.
Quiet leader.
I really think the guy leads by example. And he seems like such a genuine good person. To me, it would break my heart. Like Annik said, it would break my heart if he was traded, because I think his work on the ice and also off the ice is highly underrated, mostly by fans. I think in the dressing room, everybody knows what he means. But I think that teams would pay to get a guy like him. So that's where management will have to make decisions, and tough decisions.
Yeah, 100% agree. What was I going to say? I was going to touch on. We were talking quickly about Evans, but this is a guy tonight that is playing second line center. The lines were released earlier, so I've mentioned it countless times on the show that Jake Evans is playing to the caliber where he could move up the lineup, and I'm happy that he's finally getting a shot, getting those high minutes, because he deserves it. He might not be consistent when it comes to scoring or getting points, but he gives 110% every single shift. He's going to the net. He's physical. He's skating and skating and skating. So really happy with the side of Jake Evans that we're seeing this season. This is not me criticizing his previous seasons because he did have great seasons before, but this season is primetime Jake Evans, and I love it.
You got like front row center view of that at the Nashville game, didn't you?
My eyes were on Jake Evans every time he was on the ice, and it was worth it. It's great to see. And we touched on Armia quickly, but from what I think it was Bergevin who had said this last season was, we're looking to see more consistency from him, and that's something that I have not been seeing this season. The guy signs an extension, gets paid whatever. He's so talented. He's strong. He can skate. He's got the hands of a god when he puts them on. And I'm just not seeing it this season. He's got these little moments where you can say, that's Armia. Get going. He does it, maybe once or twice a game, and then you don't see him for another 2 games. So what's it going to take for Joel Armia to get going? And is he a possible trade bait for February?
Ooh, I don't want to lose him right now, I think. But I also think, I mean, when he was playing with Corey Perry and Eric Stahl, they were on the fourth line, and they were the most effective line. Like that line turned around the playoff run for the Canadiens last year against Toronto in Game 5. Mm-hmm. That line single-handedly turned it around. And I think when you get the right line mates, I think Armia is a guy who needs to play with good players. That's what I think he needs. And the fact that every game the lineup's changing doesn't help a guy like Armia. So I don't want to lose him right now. I think it's too soon. It's still year 1 of 4 on his 4-year extension. So I want to see more out of him too. I mean, he had that nice snipe against Boston recently, which I thought, okay, he's going to get going. But I think he's another guy I'm not too worried about. I just want to see them fill out I want to see how the rest of the season plays out, and if we really have a chance to, take another crack at, getting back into the mix. I know that's something fans don't want to hear maybe, but I don't want to quit on this team. They certainly don't want to quit. So I'm always hoping that it's going to turn around, but we'll see.
I agree with you, Drew. I think Armia should be on the top 9 for sure. Arguably on the top 6, although his production doesn't reflect that. But I think one of the things that the new management will have to look into is that the Canadiens are loaded on right wingers right now. And, he's kind of suffering from the numbers. I mean, he's not ahead of Josh Anderson. He's not ahead of Brendan Gallagher. He's got Tyler Toffoli again ahead of him as well. So on the right side, it's very difficult to crack that lineup. And Armia will not have success unless he plays, like you said, with good players like he did in the playoffs. He's not going to have success playing on the fourth line here. So I do like however, the way Poehling has been playing since he came back.
Yes.
So that kind of brings up that fourth line a little bit more. But is it enough to make Armia productive? I think he can do more. I think he has more to offer, but he's also a playoff performer. Bergevin has always said, and he's not the only one, but Bergevin has always said that you have the guys that will bring you to the playoffs and you have the guys that will make you win in the playoffs. He's in the second category. Same with Lehkonen, right?
Yeah, for sure.
That's a good observation, yeah.
I lost my train of thought here. Keep going.
You were going to mention Habs merch, I think.
Great plug. Just to let you guys know that our 20% off store-wide deal is still going on. It's for a limited time only. So at checkout, if you want to use the promo code DALE, you will get 20% off your whole order. We've got some new hats. We've got new shirts. You name it, it's probably there. So get your orders in if you want to get them on time for Christmas. I know the new crew here is going to be getting their stuff really soon, and the old crew as well. So get your official Habs Tonight merch, habstonight.net. And while you're there, Check out our new blog. JD here's been writing some articles for us. Well, only one so far, but we will get going on more. But it was a great first article, great feedback on it. So while you're there,
the second one is in the works. It's sent.
there you go. Perfect. Yes, it's going to be. I'm going to spoil it. It's going to be an article on Carey Price. So great article coming in. We're going to get Dale to get a few words in there as well. So make sure you do check it out on our website. Leave us some feedback, and if ever you do want to post an article for us, send us your ideas and whatever, and we can try to get you on to post some articles. We're open to having the fans talking about what they like and what they're thinking, and we preach positivity, as you know. So anything positive, will be accepted with open hearts.
Well said, my friend. Well, I think that just about wraps it up for us today. Today was the day where, here it is, Geoff Molson speaks, and we heard him speak. So I think that at the end of this, we're all just kind of able to calm down and have a sense of direction, like we've talked about several times for this team. So for better or for worse this season specifically, I think we can live with, hopefully, pending we don't, lose any significant players along the way that will hurt our hearts too much. But whatever the direction is that Jeff Gorton and the new general manager of the Canadiens decide to go in, we have no choice. It's a new era. It's happening. It's going down. So I'm hopeful. I think, like we mentioned, pride a lot on this channel. There's pride in being a Montreal Canadiens fan, supporter. And I think they're going to do their darndest to get this team back to the Stanley Cup as soon as possible. I mean, we just saw them get there and come up just short, 3 wins away from the 25th Stanley Cup for this, historic franchise. And we want nothing more than to see one more in our lifetimes, at least one more. And especially it would be great to see Carey Price get one too. And again, there's so much to break down from Geoff Molson, but rewatch this episode if you guys want. Hit like, hit subscribe on our channel. And we appreciate all the support we get, of course. JD, thank you for jumping on. And
it's my pleasure. I have one wish, is that we know since June 29, 2016, that the fan base has been divided. I'm hoping that this news can rally the troops as far as the fan base is concerned, and that we can all get along once again and make Twitter a good place to be, and have our conversations to be more positive. But it is my hope. I'm an eternal optimistic person, so this is my wish, and let's rally behind the Habs. There's a lot of exciting times ahead for us. I mean, looking at a new GM, looking at what they'll be doing, what their plan will be for the team. I think it's exciting for Habs tonight, but it's exciting for the Canadiens as well.
Yeah, this 100%. Show is as much the fans' show as it is ours. Like, this is all about interacting with everybody. Who, thank you guys all for commenting today too, and giving us your thoughts on the new direction the Canadiens are taking. So
it's the fans want to change. We have the change, so let's just embrace it, roll with it, and be positive about it. I mean, it's a new start. That's what matters, and it's going to happen in the long run. We'll see what happens. It's question marks, but it is what it is, right? So,
yeah. At this point, we got the change that we were asking for. So now it's up to our vice president of hockey operations. We have one, by the way, guys. We got our wish, Christmas wish, getting filled early this year. So, we're all optimistic. I think we want to be. So let's let time roll this thing out, and we'll see how it goes. So thank you guys for watching. This is Habs Tonight. Join us, be part of our team, whether you cheer for the Canadiens or not. Just great to talk hockey with all of you guys. So tonight, Montreal will be hosting the Vancouver Canucks. I'll be at the watch party on Sportsnet, which they'll be broadcasting from Grimsby, Ontario, Rogers Hometown Hockey. I might jump on for post-game. I don't think I'll be able to get on pre-game, I realize. So, but either way, please join us for a post-game tonight. I believe it's going to be Shane and Damon, thank you. That's going to be hosting our post-game show tonight, and hopefully we're talking about our first 2-game win streak of the season. So
don't forget also Autour de la Ligue will be live with Shane and myself at 6 tonight. It won't be at 7 because the game is at 7. So 6 p.m. we have a special Montreal Canadiens edition of the show. So join us live at 6, and if you want to come on the show, send us an email as well. We'd be happy to have you on to chat. So on that note, enjoy the game tonight, and boys, thank you for hopping on.
Our pleasure. Thanks, everybody.
Go to Foley. Cheers, guys.
Cheers.